vulture arrives on a distant, barren world to eat a hand. However, that hand jerkily snatches it by the throat, and Riddick crawls out from beneath the debris. He scrambles under the scorching heat on his injured leg in search of water, but the small pond is regrettably unfit for human consumption. Riddick takes a nap to rest his worn-out body as he suffers from severe agony from his wounds. Later, when he awakens, he chooses to begin by painstakingly fixing his broken leg by placing his foot between two rocks. Some creatures that resemble jackals hear his cries of anguish and rush to pursue him. Riddick steps backwards until he stumbles into the eel-filled pond. After shoving them away, Riddick focuses on decreasing his pulse rate until the jackals mistakenly believe he has drowned and leave. Riddick is astonished to see a jackal still alive when he emerges from the water. He first makes an effort to battle the jackal using his healthy leg and a bone he finds on the ground, but it is too powerful. When Riddick throws a piece of armor while keeping an eye on the animal's face, the jackal promptly chases after it, demonstrating that it behaves like a dog. Then, using his armor and a few painfully attached screws, Riddick gives support to his damaged leg. He then begins moving over the desert, encountering only sand and boulders. He eventually locates a cave with potable water, but the sound of jackals searching for him ends his rest. The pack leader is savagely attacked by a mud monster that emerges from the pond as the animals get close, killing it in a matter of seconds and frightening the other jackals away. The beast then engages in combat with Riddick. After considerable difficulty, Riddick succeeds in stopping the animal's jaws with a different bone and takes the opportunity to flee. In order to utilize an obelisk as cover while he sleeps because it is becoming darker outside, Riddick travels about until he finds one. Riddick fantasizes about how he got to this place that night. His previous position as Lord Marshal of the Necromonger Empire gave him power and access to any woman he desired. But he refused to take the oath, which infuriated a lot of influential individuals. Riddick had to be always vigilant because there had been several efforts to have him killed. One night, when Riddick checked the door to make sure all of his guards were there, one of his concubines ambushed him from behind and stabbed him. Riddick calmly reprimanded her for picking the incorrect area to stab him, then promptly executed her with the same knife. When Captain Crone and Commander Vaco later visited him to see how he was doing, they saw blood all over his throne. When Vaco informed Riddick that all maps to his own planet, Furia, had been destroyed, Riddick intimidated him with the knife and forced him to admit that the only map still in existence was in his mind. The two then struck a pact in which Vaco would lead Riddick to Furia in return for him receiving the throne so he could achieve transcendence. Riddick was taken to Furia by Crone a little while later, but as soon as he arrived, he realized it was the wrong location and that it was a trap. Riddick was attacked by Crone's troops, but due to his superior speed and strength, he was able to quickly dispatch them all with his daggers. Next, Crone attempted to use his laser rifle to murder him, but Riddick escaped by running behind a boulder. When Crone noticed they were perched on a precipice, he fired at the ground to cause the boulders to fall, allowing Riddick to tumble into the desert and perish. Back in the present, Riddick awakens and begins to explore the desert, where he finds a group of puppies that the jackal leader has left behind. Riddick takes one along and builds a cage out of bones, feeding the puppy inside to help him develop. The adult jackals occasionally try to enter the cave, but Riddick emerges and claims his area to keep them as distant. He also waits by the pond to hunt a young mud demon, stealing its poison before injecting it into the dog and himself. They take a tiny amount every day so that their systems can adjust to it, and eventually develop an immunity to it. The opposite side of Riddick's location is covered with grass and water, but he must first go beyond the pond where the mud demons are in order to reach there. One day, Riddick climbs the cliff and learns this. When his leg is fully recovered, he deliberately leaps into the pond to battle the demon with a bone weapon. Due to their quick reflexes and ability to dodge one another's blows, Riddick exposes his leg for the beast to bite, and then kills it with its teeth still embedded in the armor. He turns around when he hears a disturbance, and sees the puppy barking at a group of animals. A mud demon can strike Riddick from behind because of this distraction, but he easily avoids it and flees. As he slashes open the demon, Riddick slides under it while holding his dog and the bone weapon. Riddick crosses over and is finally able to leave the location as the mud demon writhes in agony and dies. Riddick explores the plains for 6 months with his pet jackal, who is now an adult and a really decent guy. Riddick must drag the jackal by the neck to get him to drop what he has picked up one day, which turns out to be a golf ball. It follows that people have already lived here. They ultimately locate Station P7, a mercenary and bounty hunter base, after following this hint. He grabs several food packs and a few helpful items, but when he opens them later, he finds that they are disgusting. When Riddick tries to feed them to the jackal, the animal rejects them and urinates on them. The sky turns black as they continue to share the flesh of a beast they hunted. When the jackal begins to snarl, Riddick uses his unique vision to see a swarm of mud demons moving with the storm. At first, Riddick believes a rainfall is a wonderful thing. Riddick returns to the station after realizing why people leave this planet and activates the beacon that scans him, identifying him as a wanted man and broadcasting the message to the neighboring mercenary ships. Captain Santana and his team of mercenaries show up shortly after. They explore the station but are unable to locate Riddick there. All they find is a note in blood ordering them to leave immediately for Riddick or risk death. After that, the group starts establishing camp while installing a sensor that would alert them when intruders are around. Santana gives the order to his troops to release the prisoner so they may make place for Riddick when they capture him. The woman starts to flee as quickly as she can, but Santana shoots her dead in an instant. Riddick is helpless to intervene as he observes from his hiding place. Santana then shouts into the open, telling Riddick that he would put his head in a box, letting him know that he is here for him. A group of bounty hunters commanded by Boss Johns arrive at that same time. They land despite Santana's attempts to warn them that the area is occupied. After a fight over who gets to remain, John finally consents to let Santana handle Riddick until he needs his assistance. Santana, pointing at Riddick's message, says that in order to stop Riddick from taking his ship, he would lock up his ship node in a locker with a bombing mechanism. Johns instructs Dahl, who is hesitant about the concept, to do the same. Dahl notifies Johns that the base's customary traps are gone as night falls. The team notices the pet jackal in the area as the sensor discovers something unexpectedly. When Diaz attempts to shoot it, the animal narrowly avoids being hit. The jackal tugs on one of the sensor's nodes and Riddick makes a lot of noise up on the cliff while everyone is now preoccupied, which causes the machine to fail until Santon shuts it off. As Johns tries to alert his troops to the stolen items, he sends one of his men to check on the sensor nodes and one of the mercenaries stumbles into a trap that Riddick had set up before they arrived. The man attempts to painfully crawl away on shattered legs, but as he does, another trap sets off, killing him instantly. There is no reaction when Santana attempts to contact another soldier. When two mercenaries go in search of a lost friend, Riddick is hauling the body away. While Santana hears the yelling on his radio, the pair fires in the dark but misses every shot. The troops return the following morning with two of the mercenaries whom Riddick had left behind, however one is still missing. After clearing the area of the traps, Santana is forced to enlist John's assistance. Dahl, on the other hand, is repeatedly treated like a racist twit by Santana, who eventually hits him many times. Johns agrees to participate, but instead of collaborating, he really assumes command of the entire endeavor. He reveals that all Santana needs in order to collect Riddick's head for the reward is some information from him. The team uses their own tools to locate the jackal, and Dahl shoots him twice to insert a tracker into his thigh. They pursue the beast into a cave using jet motorcycles, where they illuminate their path with unique illuminating weaponry. They enter cautiously and discover Furia inscribed onto the earth. They shoot the first person they see after realizing it's the body that has been missing. They suddenly become aware that they were brought here on purpose so that Riddick could buy time as they are startled by a jackal racing in the pitch black. Dahl is having a shower at the base, and she can't help but feel like someone is watching her. When Dahl looks back, the hand has already left, and her mirror has disappeared through the broken window. When she sees Santana there after using the restroom, she assumes he was the robber. Riddick is already on top of the ship, using Dahl's mirror to see the other troops as they maintain watch around it. This also enables him to realize that the ship's nodes are gone, preventing him from stealing it quite yet in order to flee. When Dahl receives word from those in the cave that Riddick must be at the base, she attempts to give Santana the go-ahead to pursue him. Riddick witnesses the altercation from the ceiling as Santana strikes her in return. Dahl is pinned to the ground by Santana after they trade a few blows. When Johns and the others return at that point, they see Dahl has already attacked Santana. Another surprise is that Riddick wrote, "Fair trade," in blood on the locker as they were fighting. Additionally, the base communications have been destroyed. Johns is concerned that because Riddick is so cunning, he may have altered the combination because Santana wants to open the locker. Everyone pulls out their firearms as a new disagreement breaks out, but Johns advises everyone to cool off because it is clear that they are being duped by Riddick's mind tricks. Everyone lets Santana unlock the locker after everyone disperse for her protection. Thankfully, nothing explodes as he gently inserts the code, ensuring that the nodes are still within. They are so happy that they forget to lock it once more. One of the troops hears a disturbance and walks over to examine the locker as the group deliberates their next move. He notices the skylight is open and starts to scan the surroundings when Riddick suddenly grabs him, confirming the poor guy is afraid of him. When a different soldier discovers that his comrade is missing, he hunts for him and discovers him to be alone and paralyzed with dread. The team notices the nodes are gone when the soldier lets them know Riddick is nearby. Riddick buries the nodes in the desert and realizes the storm is approaching, so he must act while the group debates how to proceed. Riddick contacts the gang and requests to negotiate using the radio he recovered from the body he left in the cave. Riddick joins Johns, Santana, and Diaz outside the base after they all lay down their weapons. When Johns attempts to question Riddick about a previous mission in which his son perished, Riddick refuses to respond and instead offers to bring the nodes back in exchange for one ship, claiming they shouldn't be in this location when the storm hits. He then departs, allowing the team some time to decide before it starts to rain. Furious, Santana attempts to shoot Riddick, but the jackal strikes Riddick first, preventing Santana from hitting Riddick. Riddick tries to save his pet right away, but Dahl starts firing tranquilizers at him from a distance. The first one doesn't accomplish anything, but as several of them get to Riddick's body, he is too weak to move, and Santana takes advantage of the opportunity to kill the jackal. Also attempting to murder Riddick, he is stopped by Johns, who instead knocks Riddick unconscious. At the base, Riddick discovers himself bound when he awakens. Even after being assaulted by an enraged Johns, Riddick continues to refuse to provide an explanation for what happened to his kid. When it starts to rain, Johns gives up on Riddick and hands Santana control of his head. However, the sensor outside alerts them to danger as Santana is ready to strike. When the team steps outside, they find that the storm's mud monsters have encircled them. They promptly return inside and close all doors as one of the troops opens fire via a window. However, a mud monster bursts through the wall and promptly stabs him and bashes him against the glass to death. The team starts shooting at the creature, but it quickly climbs to the top and reaches through the skylight to seize another soldier. As they hear the sounds of the beast slaughtering their comrade, Riddick chuckles and declares that he is the only one who is skilled in combating demons. In exchange for his assistance, Johns ultimately agrees to give him a ship. Johns then starts to liberate Riddick, but Santana stops him because he wants the reward. Dahl attempts to cut it, but the other mercenary catch her, and Santana moves closer to Riddick in an effort to ultimately grab his head. Riddick uses his free leg to kick Santana, and then he uses his blade to sever Santana's skull, which falls directly into the box. After the team has freed Riddick, they open fire on the mud demons, killing every beast in their path. The crew rapidly kills the one that managed to capture a soldier's foot with its tentacle, but it's too late. The soldier has already started to bleed to death from the poison. Riddick, Diaz, and Johns go on the jet cycles in search of the nodes while Dahl and the final soldier remain to guard the ships. Riddick can drive past the mud monster without getting stuck or harming it by using his unique eyes to navigate in the dark. This also enables him to perform some incredible bike leaps. John's bike smashes after Diaz sideswipes him when they are almost there. Fortunately, Riddick arrives to pick Johns up before anything bad occurs when he senses sounds around him and starts firing in the dark. Together, the two ride off, and when they get to their location, Riddick starts looking for nodes while talking about John's son. Riddick murdered the youngster since it turned out he was an addict who was ready to murder an innocent child to obtain money for his preferred drugs. When Johns refuses to accept that his kid was the villain, Riddick finally locates the nodes. For learning this, Diaz emerges from concealment and kills Johns before going for Riddick. Riddick is stronger than Diaz and pushes his arms down till he can kick Diaz away as they engage in a violent brawl. When Diaz goes to get his rifle, Riddick suddenly appears in front of him with a sword that he had hidden in the hole and is now using to murder him. Diaz mistakenly fires the rifle as he expires, destroying one of the motorcycles with his falling corpse. When Johns examines the final bike, he finds that Diaz has already turned off the engine since his initial intent was to remove the nodes and abandon them. Back at the ship, Johns and Riddick started out on foot while slaying mud monsters. They cooperate to eliminate them one by one, but while Johns is safe at a distance with his rifle, Riddick is engaging in hand-to-hand combat with his sword, allowing a demon to pierce him with a fong before it is eliminated. Johns seizes the opportunity to steal Riddick's node and heads back to the ship after tossing a bomb to eliminate the final demons. In the meantime, Riddick utilizes a hot rock that was left behind from the explosion to brutally cauterize his wound. Riddick hears a large group of demons coming and scrambles up a sheer cliff to get away, but the demons just pursue him. At first, Riddick uses his weapon to protect himself, but a demon biting his leg forces him to drop it. Riddick, who is unable to give up, continues to climb the cliff until he reaches the top, where he starts battling the beasts with nothing but his bare hands. Riddick is about to be devoured by a demon when it jumps on him, but something causes it to explode. The people on the ship, led by Johns, use the guns to dispatch each monster. When it's time to pick up Riddick, Dahl descends like an angel. Shortly after, Riddick boards Santana's ship and bids John's people farewell before sailing back to Necropolis. Riddick is shocked to discover Crone praying in the throne room when he finally arrives to the stronghold and learns that it was Crone and not Vako who betrayed him. After asking the concubine if Vako is alive or dead and getting a both response, Riddick promptly stabs him from behind. Riddick observes a brilliant light as he approaches the window and realizes Vako has entered it and attained nirvana.